Good morning. Today it is bright and early on Saturday. Today's December 19th. We are in Tonto National Forest on the edge of the Mazatzal Wilderness. Today, Eric and I are going to climb Mazatzal Peak. You can't actually see it from here. This is kind of the southern end of the long ridge that Mazatzal Peak sits on. We're going to be going up a trail that kind of skirts up kind of just below this northern ridge saddle here. Not sure if we can see it behind this tree at the moment, but we're going to kind of skirt through this canyon here, and we're going to gain that ridge. There's a couple different ways I've read to do it. We'll see which way is the best when we get up there, and I'll give updates, of course, as we go. There's a couple different ways down, and we'll kind of evaluate that as we go as well. But for now, we're going to start going on the trail. Looks like today we're going to have about 10 miles on trail, and 5 miles of it today is going to be off trail. So I'll probably focus more on the off trail section. I'll probably give a couple little brief updates during the on trail section today, but for the most part, kind of keeping the trip report to the more harder to find off trail segments. But pretty excited for today. This should be a good one. All right, we're about 2.5 miles up the Barnhart Trail. We're at about 5,500, 5,600 feet, and everything's going pretty well so far. The trail is pretty fun, pretty quick, pretty flowy. I'm thinking once we get up to about where the sun is shining on that upper saddle up there, we'll have a better view of where we're going to be heading off trail. So we'll probably give another update up there. All right, we're about 6 miles in. We decided to keep following the trail to the saddle. We actually just passed the sign for the AZT junction. We're at the Mazatzal Divide. And as you can see, we're still in some pretty thick manzanita, but we decided to skip the other routes that we saw on Peakbagging, just because the ridge lines that they followed up, it was not manzanita anymore, but it was like a really thorny brush. And as you can see, Eric's wearing shorts, so am I. We weren't really looking forward to bushwhacking through thorny stuff, so we thought we'd come a little further and hope for a little bit more open space. Didn't quite find it, but at least it's manzanita and not quite as thorny. And it does kind of look like we have a little bit of an opening here where we're cutting off the trail here. Again, it's only about 1/4 mile, maybe not even that, maybe 1/10 of a mile past the intersection with the Arizona Trail at the Mazatzal Divide, where we're heading off trail now. And I can't really give you any clear markers here, but I think it's kind of just a matter of find your way up the ridge line. All right, we're making our way up the ridge. The vegetation does seem to be getting thinner the higher we get. It's been a odd mix of manzanita and some of these thornier bushes, so we are getting a little scratched up. I guess that's to be expected today. All right, we are firmly up on the ridgeline now. Our views are opening up, and I'm hoping that so is the vegetation. Up to this point, it's been pretty bushy, and I'm pretty cut up. So if you want to come out, I would recommend wearing pants, but you guys probably all wear anyway. You're not as silly as me wearing shorts in December. But it looks like it's pretty good now. We got our view of the summit now. It's not that first prominent bump that you can see in view right now, but it's just beyond that. All right, we've made it up to about 6,700 feet, maybe a little over. You can see a nice view to the east here, the Mogollon Rim. It's been pretty clear for the most part. We've been following a pretty good network of game trails out here. See lots of deer tracks. So thanks to the deer for clearing the way for us for the most part. We got a little cliff block right above us that we're gonna skirt around. And then we'll be joining back up shortly after that with the some of the previously reported routes from Peakbagging. And Eric and I were looking at those routes, and now that we have a better vantage point, we're kind of thinking that might be the way we're going to go down, because it does look a little bit easier It looks maybe just about as bushy, and that's kind of the biggest reason why we came over here, was to see if we could avoid some of that bush. But that didn't turn out to be the case, so going down, we might try a different way. All right, we've battled a bunch of different terrain. We've gone on some nice rock slabs like this, which are nice and easy. We've gone through a bunch of bush, and you can see straight up ahead is the summit. I think we're only about a quarter mile horizontally, and we're only about 200 feet shy, I think, vertically. So we're almost there. All right, we've made it to the summit of Mazatzal Peak. It's pretty amazing up here, as usual. These summits usually are. We got fantastic views, 360. You can see clear all the way into the Phoenix Valley. There were some air quality alerts on the way up on the highway signs, and we can definitely see why, because it's very smoggy through the entire valley. I can barely even make out anything other than the mountain ranges that kind of border the valley. Over here to the south, we've got Mount Ord, and we've got a nice view of Roosevelt Lake and some of the ranges beyond that. And to the north, we can see the Mogollon Rim, and then even beyond that, we have a pretty nice view of Humphreys Peak there in the distance, straight north, and then Kendrick Peak just a little bit to the left. So this is a really cool spot right here in the middle of the state, kind of, with some really good views of most of the surrounding areas. Really tough way up, really scratchy way up, but really nice views up here at the top. All right, we're at 7,000 feet, part way down the ridgeline, and Eric and I were talking about our way down. And honestly, the reason why we went all the way to that saddle on the trail to come back up the full length of the ridge was to see if we could find a less bushy way. But since that didn't turn out to be the case on the way up, we're actually thinking we'll just follow this ridge line down straight in front of us below this rock outcrop in the foreground. We're going to follow that ridge line straight down, and then that'll meet back up in the trail, I think, in a little bit less than a mile. And I think that'll be a better way, because that'll get us back on the trail quicker, and we'll be able to start running at that point. So that's our plan. I'll obviously post both my up and down on the map below, and you can make a decision which way you want to go. I don't think either way is better or worse than the other, except for the fact that going the full length of the ridge is going to be a little bit longer. So right now we're in one of our more fortunate sections of the bushwhack, but it tends to quickly change from good to bad, sometimes at a moment's notice. But I think the general idea is to find the path of least resistance and forge ahead, and plan on getting cut up even if you're wearing pants, I think, because it's pretty thick back here. All right, so we've made it back down to the glorious trail. We're very happy to be back after such a rough bushwhack. It was a really cool peak, so I think it was worth it, but definitely my least favorite bushwhack so far that I've ever done. And now we've got about 5 miles left of nice single track, and Eric and I are gonna just knock it out with a quick little downhill run. So we should be able to get back to the trailhead pretty soon. And yeah, make some quick work out of it. Otherwise, I think we're still kind of not quite sure which way was better. We think that the shorter way was definitely quite a bit bushier. The longer way was a little less bushy, but it was longer. So I guess I'll leave that up to you, whether you want to go the longer way or the bushier way, or maybe both like we did today. And if you try both out, leave your comment below what you think is the better way to go. We'll see you at the bottom. All right, we've made it back down to the trailhead. So safe turn, another successful day in the books. We made it up to Mazatzal Peak today, which stands at an elevation of 7,903 feet, has a prominence of 3,943 feet. We had some fantastic views up there, clear all the way up to Humphreys Peak north of Flagstaff, and I think you can still see a little bit of the Mogollon Rib up there right behind me now. Despite leaving some skin up there, still really enjoyed myself, still happy I did it. That was some great views up there. As usual, I'd like to thank everyone that's come before me. There were a lot of useful trip reports on Peakbagger, and maps are, as usual, very useful. We didn't have any use paths up there to follow, but I would like to thank the deer that gave us some pretty good game paths to follow up there. And then unlikely hero today was the manzanita. I was trash talking him earlier, but happy to find those when we were bushwhacking, because they were actually some of the easier things to wade through. And of course, as usual, love to give my appreciation to the original stewards of this land, which up here is a combination of the Western Apache, the Pueblos, and the Hohokam peoples. Have a good day, everybody.
This is like nature's booby trap.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go to the mountain, huh?